Hi everybody, welcome to class 4. Tonight our topic is step 3 of spiritual mind treatment. It's going to be a good one, but as we do, we start with a spiritual mind treatment to begin our class. And enjoy this. I will be doing this tonight, but soon you will be doing this. So, what I know is that there is a presence that is everywhere and always. There is a power that is infinitely present right here. There is a truth of that absolute presence that is perfect and complete in every way. There is a power, a presence, a knowing that is greater than physical form. It is the presence of the divine. By whatever name and whatever understanding, it's more than that. So I celebrate it this moment. I'm grateful for it in this moment. And most of all, I'm aware that this power and presence that is infinite everywhere in its entirety is at the point of me. It is who and what I am. Its power is my power. Its knowing is my knowing. This divine presence became me, and I accept that knowing as the essence and the foundation of my life. And in seeing and knowing that, I speak with that authority, knowing the truth for myself and for all of life, that all is divine, all is perfect, all is unfolding as it must for the evolving presence as us on planet Earth. And I know that our time together in this room tonight, each one that joins me here, wakes up a little more to that each of us is. And that as we seem to be in a life that is multiplicitous, that the higher truth is that we are one. One mind, one body, one being. And living from that and experiencing that in every moment, we do awaken more clearly to who we are. To know this, I am so grateful. I am grateful for those who choose to come and be in this class with me and with Kate and with one another. Each one on that path of discovery. I am so grateful that people want to know this, that we want to know this. And I let that delight of gratitude permeate my being, fill this room as I know the truth. And knowing that this is so, I simply let it be, recognizing that it's there whether I see it or not. And I do see it. I do know it. And with that clarity of being, I simply release it into the allness of spirit, seeing it here, knowing it everywhere, and letting it be full, complete in every way. And together we say,
And so it is.
Yay! Yay! Good stuff. Okay. So this is my last night with you, because I'll be away from Asheville the next 3 Wednesdays. But we're really getting into the core of it with doing step 3. I love the conversation last week when April said that doing step 1 and step 2, it almost feels like you're complete. So we're going to have a little review of this and see why it is we do step 3. Why don't we just do the first 2 steps and figure that's it? Because Holmes has some thoughts on that. And although I'm delighted and grateful that you're reading 5 Steps to Freedom, I'm going to rely on Dr. Holmes tonight to add to that conversation. I've been reading this book called It's Up to You. It's one of his early books. We don't know exactly when he read it. It's not, Charter publishes it. Oh, you want to hear another cool thing? I have a conversation with the publisher at Charter tomorrow about publishing my new book.
Yay!
I know, isn't that exciting?
That's fantastic. Sorry syndrome.
Yeah, the Sorry Syndrome, that's the name of the book. And so we're going to have a conversation about how that can happen. I'm very excited. He's a great guy. Okay, so in this book, Holmes, who wrote this many, many years ago because Some of you will remember I talked about Robert Brown one Sunday, the African-American gentleman that lives over in High Point, North Carolina, who received this book when he was 12, and he's in his 80s. So he got it a long time ago, and his grandmother gave it to him. She could not read it, but she knew there was important stuff in it, and she knew the name of it was It's Up to You. So she gave it to him, and he says now it's the most important book in his life. And he's built an amazing presence in the world with the things that have happened. And Holmes actually writes about spiritual mind treatment in here. Understand that Holmes' way of treating was only steps 1, 2, and 3. Steps 4 and 5 came along later. One of his students, and that student's students proposed the idea of adding the last 2 steps. And Holmes agreed, and that's fine, and that's kind of how it's evolved. Some places do more steps than that, but 5 is basically the standard. And but Holmes did 3, and so he writes about that here. So this is in, let's see what the name of the chapter is that this is in. It's called The Power of Prayer. He writes, the first step in affirmative prayer, or spiritual mind treatment, is the recognition of this universe, creative presence and power which surrounds us and is responsive to us. Then the next step is identification or unification with this presence. Prayer has stimulated countless millions of people to nobler deeds and nobler thoughts, because anything that tends to connect our minds with the oversoul of the universe lets in a flood of its consciousness. The prayers of Jesus were an acceptance, a realization rather than a request. No other man has ever lived who so continuously recognized, accepted, and practiced the presence of God. Whatever the enlightenment of this man's mind was, it certainly placed him in a relationship with the infinite being we call God, which is so close, so immediate, that it was more like 2 people talking with each other. Jesus came preaching a gospel of fulfillment here and now for everyone. He did not try to tell God a better way to do things. So there he's talking about steps 1 and 2. Now he's going to talk about, well, he's going to talk about all of them here. Recognition, step 1. Unification, as he calls it, or identification, step 2. And realization, which is step 3, he also calls that acceptance, are all mental acts, something which the mind does to itself. Identification is a conscious attempt to establish in one's mind the recognition that a unity exists between God and man. That's step 2. Then, one no longer says, God, please give me a crust of bread, I am starving. That is a prayer of limitation, a denial of the abundance of the universe. That defies want and crystallizes impoverishment. Identification is the conscious act of definitely unifying the mind with spirit. Jesus said, I and the Father are one. Our identification are prayers put in the form of affirmations, the conscious association of unity, a belief in the inevitability of unity and the desire to mentally accept that unity. That's the work. The last step, step 3, and perhaps the greatest, is acceptance or realization, the entering into the essence of the good which is desired in one's life. It is the highest act that the human mind can reach, because it no longer merely focuses on good, but itself becomes the good, which was the object of its focus. Then it is that the soul itself, as Emerson said, is nimble and hops about. It beholds its own glory everywhere. The individual no longer feels that the thing is going to be, or ought to be, or must be, but it knows that it is, and he enters into it, and it enters into him. Good is no longer a thing apart from the soul. Truth is not something to be attained. God is no longer something toward which we aspire, and the soul, alone and naked and unafraid, merges into the universe, not to the loss of its individuality, but to the glorification of itself. This is what we're doing. We're awakening our essence to what it is. Most people on the planet don't have a clue. They think life is hard and you're just working to get through it. You know, maybe you'll have a little happiness, but basically we're just going to suffer through. Let's not do that anymore. Let's use this teaching, these principles, and this tool called spiritual mind treatment to move beyond this limiting thought of life and never, ever, ever go back there again. That's the work. Now that doesn't mean that we're not going to have challenges. We're going to have challenges. But you know what? Our challenges should be bigger and better and more important than the challenges we had before. This shouldn't be about struggling through life. Our challenges should be about how can we get the most done in our life? How can we have the most opportunity revealed in our lives? How can we change the world by being here? How can we touch more lives, make a difference? That's the kind of thing that we want to have as a challenge. And I've always believed that if you don't create something to work on in your life, life will give you something to work on. But you won't like that. You won't enjoy that. The way to get the most out of life is to set a pattern and a path to do something that is a lot, that's big, that you don't know how to do. You know? Something, you know, and I hear people say, oh, I just want life to be easy. Not really. You want life to be meaningful. That's what you want if you're paying attention. Now, some people who are in the struggle and have the problems and owe the money and have the health issues and struggle in their relationship, sure they want it to be easy. Of course they want it to be easy. But that's because they're not being fully engaged in creating the life they want. They're kind of suffering through life. I love that when Jesus said that to his disciples. How long must I suffer you? It's like, come on guys, wake up. You know? So how long must we suffer the pettiness of life? Or are we ready to actually step into something greater? And you know, if any of you are retired, I don't know if any of you call yourself retired, but that doesn't mean you stop living. That doesn't mean you stop doing something meaningful. And it doesn't have to change the world. I find myself thinking in those terms. But it means something of value is coming out of your life. Not just a maintenance, not just a make it easy. Something valuable is coming out of your life. That's the work. That's what we do. And we use this idea, this teaching, to get there. So that's enough on that. We're going to break down this idea of the third step and see how to use it. Everybody good right now? Any questions about where we've come from yet, or what you're working on in reading the book, or anything of the sort? Is it working for you? Okay. All right. You're a good class. So let's see what we got here. So we've already called this thing unification. I'm sorry, what I'm trying to say is we've already called it realization. That's the correct name. That's what I like to call it. Realization. But Holmes called it other things. He called it affirmation. I think in that reading he said it was affirmation. And he called it at times declaration.
Didn't you also just state that it was also acceptance?
I think he did say something about
He
acceptance,
did.
and that's a great word.
Yeah, it is.
I actually align that with this.
Yeah.
So the difference with these words, and this is important, I love affirmations. Saying affirmations is great. And usually when you learn affirmations from a teacher, all you're doing is the affirmation. You're not like doing the first two steps and then an affirmation, but the idea of doing it this, every third step should be affirming, absolutely. And it's an interesting word. Barbara taught me this, that the key word in there is firm. You're actually taking something that is an idea And by focusing on it, you're turning it into something real, something firm, so that it has that aspect of it. Declaration is a powerful word. And we, in our culture especially, the idea of the Declaration of Independence, I mean, that was a great thing to call that document, because it declared the rights of the people. And so that's really powerful, but it takes a lot of work to declare something. It takes a lot of energy. I declare. It always comes with that robust boom, you know, and not that that's bad, but if you're that sort of person that wants to use that energy, I think though it gives you, what it does is it misinterprets the what's happening. And what really speaks to what's happening is realization and acceptance. But let's talk about realization. You know, I just realized.
Yeah.
All you did was realize. You didn't force anything. You didn't push anything. You're not being aggressive anyway. What you're saying is, the thing I'm realizing was already there. It was already so. All I'm doing is realizing that it's so. That's what makes it so powerful. There's no push. It's not like, and that's a thing that most people, I think, welcome Jane, come on in. Good to see you, darling. Come on in. So the thing about this is that you don't want to get the idea that you're making something happen with treatment. You're not. You're simply focusing on something and recognizing that it's there. You know, and if you study quantum mechanics, or any of the metaphysical teachers will tell you that all possibilities exist, and that when you focus on it, everything collapses into that. That's kind of how it's often described. And that's what you're doing in treatment. You're doing it in treatment. You've done step one. You've recognized that there is something so much bigger than what you yourself are focused on in your life. There's something that's so much more powerful than you recognize in your day-to-day life. But then you step into the second step and you say, that's me. And not me, my body, and not me, my ego, but me, the spiritual being that I am, the eternal, ever-present being that I am, living this particular finite life, but my life is infinite and eternal. So I'm recognizing that's me. Oh, wow. And then I speak with that authority. I speak with the authority of the divine. And I move to it, my third step, with that authority. So I'm saying, with absolute clarity, this is so. Are you declaring it? Perhaps. It's not wrong to declare it. Are you affirming it? Perhaps. Not wrong to affirm it. But if you're simply realizing it, and when's the last time you realized something was so and it wasn't? It's almost like, boom, you got it. Ah.
It's the light bulb.
We tend to realize, I mean, you could use the word to realize that something is really something you don't want. You know, I realize I have no money in the bank. Well, that's a realization, but don't go there. So do it the way Betty just said, realize things that carry you into a greater understanding of your life in a way that is prosperous and that feeds you. Realize that and allow that to be the truth. So let's, and accept it. That is a great word. Accept that that's so. But for me, the best word is realization. Just realizing it does amazing things. Just letting it be. Seeing it as so. Has such power. There's no wanting. There's no wishing. There's no hoping. There's no asking. There's no trying. It is effortless. Step 3 should be effortless. And all of us have a preference of either being visual, auditory, or kinesthetic. That's not correct, but it's kinesthetic. That means that we very easily can envision something, close our eyes and see something. We can close our eyes and kind of separate ourselves from what's happening and hear something. or we can close our eyes and feel something. We all tend to be one of those more than others, just a preference, not that we can't do all of them. And do there in your third step whatever works for you. The first two steps are so abstract in their concept, they're conceptual. It's kind of hard to use anything that would perceive a physical form in the first two steps. They're conceptual. But once you get to the third step, you're doing the thing. You're moving the you're moving from here where you are to here. And this is physical form. So using these three ideas to be aware of something in physicality is good in the third step. You want to focus on what's here, because that's what's being created. It's something here. You're not really, there's nothing creative here. It's already that. It already is that. This is the law. This is mind. So where your focus is down here. Now, where we started in this conversation the very first week was that don't get caught down here because you do your work here. But the truth is, when you're doing this consciously, recognizing that you're doing it from here, that you're creating something down here. You want to, don't you?
Yeah, that's where you want your results.
Yeah, you want your results, exactly. So that's the work. So you focus on it being in physical form. And I'm very visual, so I love to see things, you know. So if somebody's working on a health thing, you know, I just go there. I see them, you know, if they've got a bad back and I'm treating them, what I'll see them bending over. I'll see them stretching. I just see those things, and that's what I'm realizing is they can do all that. You know, and in the moment they may be saying, "Oh no, I can't do that." Yes, you can. You can do that, and having that clearly as a visual for me is my best way to treat. I may be saying the words, but really what I'm doing is I'm seeing it happen, and that is always helpful to me. So when you're training for yourself, if you can be visual, use that. See it. Don't just say words. Words are powerful, but actually seeing it is a full step ahead of that. If you can, if you're more auditory, then listen for it. And words and auditory kind of fall together. You know, what are they saying, or what is it that you can know about that that someone can tell you with words, and that's fine. That's wonderful. Or what can you feel? You know, what is it? And it can be an emotional feeling, or it can be a tactile feeling. Either way, it works. Whatever it is you're called to do. So use those sensory perceptions in your treatment in the third step. It's very helpful to do that. Here's an example of how that can work. Imagine for a moment that I have a lemon, a half a lemon, let's say, okay? And I take that half lemon, cut across, and I go, what are you feeling? Anybody have a
I'm
yeah,
salivating.
yeah, you feel that you salivate when I do that. It's just an idea. There's no lemon here. And yet you salivate. Why do you do that? Because the mind that you're using to create in your life, to actually do this and this process, doesn't know the difference between what's imagined and what already has physical form. It doesn't know the difference. So when you claim that something is so and you have a physical relationship with it, it's so. If you can see it in your life, it's so. If you can hear it, if you can do all three, it's even better. So in my idea, because you know I'm moving, I'll get you in a second, Joy. In my life, this idea of moving into a more secular audience to do some public speaking, my work on that is see myself stepping on the stage, seeing the audience, speaking into the microphone, hearing my voice resonate in the room, and be aware of the room itself. Be aware of the temperature of the air. Be aware of the lighting in the room. Be aware of any aspect of it that I can see and do. And that is what propels me into knowing that that's real. So that as I pursue that, It's not some unknown. The biggest fear we have, in fact, everything we're afraid of in life is the unknown. We're not afraid of anything we know. You know, we're only afraid of what we don't know. So if you move past that in your treatment work of recognizing that presence, of identifying with it, and then realizing what it is that's so, it's just as though you've already done it. You've already done it. Joey, what'd you say?
I'm real big with visualization, and one of the cars that I'm a big car guy, and one of the cars that I'm pulling in it has a suede steering wheel, and a suede shifter, and just the feeling of suede.
Yeah, it's different.
It is so powerful when you do. Oh, and it just raises my vibration. And it's amazing.
It does.
Like,
absolutely.
It's incredible.
So it's almost like you already have it.
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, you do. Thank you. Thank you. So your subjective receives that as this is what is, and that's what's impressing upon the law. Who raised their hand over here? Yes, baby.
I was just gonna say, where does the emotional part of that manifestation go? Because a lot of times, because I'm a very emotional person, I will sense the emotion that's attached to that.
That's wonderful. Feel it. Feel that, and that's the kinesthetic.
That's part of
Yeah, sure. You're in the middle of this thing that is demonstrated in your life, and you feel it. It's cool. It feels wonderful. Obviously, you're not calling something in your life that doesn't feel wonderful. So how does it feel wonderful? Are you exhilarated? Are you pleasantly delighted? Are you captivated by it? Well, how would you describe it? And it's not so much having the words, but it's having the feeling. And getting in that feeling and letting your subjective mind know that you feel that. That's the way you do it. That's what this third step is really about. Amanda, do you want to say something? So, we're going to go into that a little deeper. Let's see.
John.
Yes. Oh, hi.
So I can deeply feel what I know as my realization, and I hear it,
Okay,
and
that's
I
cool.
see it,
Right?
but I don't have it, and I want to know why I'm there and not where I'm realizing I am.
Here's your work. To see it, to hear it, to feel it, and to have it. And never, ever again say you don't have it. It's the thing that we do. We do the work, and then we open our eyes and go,
I don't have it.
I don't have it. And that totally nullifies the thing all the work you did. It's so powerful. And think about how those words come out. I don't have it. Maybe a little, I don't have it. When you say that, the law takes that and says, okay. So you have to get to the place where it is unacceptable to think you don't have it. Here's how you exercise this in your mind. Do treatment work for 30 days on something you already have. I mean, you really have it. Like, I have a new pickup truck. So I would, every day in my treatment work, and I am so grateful to know this beautiful Chevy Colorado truck is in my life. And when I tell people this in other places, they go, huh? You already have it. Yes, that's the experience. You already have it. So do that. And after doing it for my truck for 30 days, the feeling every day is, you have it. You have it. So then you apply that knowing to whatever else there is. I have it. And never, never, never fall back on that thing that I don't. I don't ever have a moment where I think I don't have my pickup. I have my pickup. That's the energy, that's the essence of treatment, is that you're that convinced. Holmes would go and do treatment work for someone. He would sit in his library, if it took all night, until he was so clear that that was so, that the person was healthy, or the person was in a relationship, whatever it was. They would do the work. He would do the work, not with the person sitting there by himself, to know that it was so, and he would not leave it until he knew it was so. So there was nothing in him that says, well, maybe not. Nothing. That's how we do this. That's the work. And trust me, everybody does that. Everybody falls in that trap. Here you Don't do that. Don't even consider that. Don't let your mind off the hook. You're claiming it, and the universe must provide it because you believe it's so. What do you want to say?
I've just got an inkling. Treat for what I want, not for what I don't have.
Oh, God, yes. And we're going to go through that here in a minute.
It just hit me right now.
Yeah, but you know what? It's not even, you don't treat it the level of want.
Okay.
You treat it the level of have.
Have.
Yeah, well, I'll do that with you in a few minutes.
Okay.
What do you want to say, Drew?
Yeah, two things. The whole, I don't have it at the end is like playing the entire game of whatever. And then the winning goal or basket, it's like, yes, nobody opening, dink, denied. It's, that's that whole ego-driven, you can't.
Right. Sports psychologists
Yeah.
work with people about being in the zone.
Yeah.
You've had a time in your career where you just laid it up. You just nothing but net, nothing but net, nothing but net. Go there. Go to that place. Work from that place. Accept nothing but that place. That's what they do, and the champions will tell you that they went there and it worked.
Yeah. And,
The golfers see it going to hole. See it going to hole. Right. See it going to hole. Nothing else. Hit the ball. It has to go in the hole. It has to go in the hole. And then you go out there and the ball doesn't go in the hole, and you have to not buy into that.
Right.
You have to be able to go and tap it in, and then go back to it goes in the hole. And because you can't say, well, it was almost in the hole. No. It goes in the hole every time. And the person that can be consistent with that will win the tournament. Because what they see, they get, and they don't veer away from what is so natural to go, no, it didn't go, it didn't happen. No, not acceptable, don't go there, ever.
And your mind goes to why it didn't happen.
Oh my God,
maybe
and
it's
then
stuck
you're
with a
hooked.
lucky rabbit's foot.
God, you say why, and
fish on.
everything's lost.
Yeah.
You're in the groove of what you don't want. Joey, and I'm coming to you next, Jane.
Two things. Something that you could also do, I saw this in a book, and maybe someone here might know what it would be, but you actually stand like 60 feet from a tree and try throwing a few stones at it.
Mm-hmm.
And then stop and visualize a few times doing it. And I'm telling you, almost every time you'll start to
Every
just
time.
knock,
Every time.
There's one that Brian Biro uses in his breakthrough workshop. I don't know if all of you know Brian. His wife is one of our practitioners. He's one of the top public speakers in America. He's actually listed in the actual list somebody's got of being 60-something on the list of public speakers in America. And then he points out to me, though, that about 10 of the people on that list are dead, so he's really in the 50s. But he does this thing, let's just do it. Everybody stand up. You all right, so get a room from between you and the people next to you, because what you're gonna do is raise your arm in front of you. Sit steady your feet on the ground, kind of parallel. It doesn't matter which words you're saying, but you're gonna stand here. You don't want to hit anybody, so make sure you got a little room here, okay? I don't think you have enough room over here. There you go. Okay, so what you're going to do, if you got your right hand up, we'll go, let's everybody do right hand, whether you're left-handed or right-handed. Do your right hand. Point straight ahead. And now what I want you to do is I want you to go as far as you can. Far as you can. Without moving your feet. Okay? And notice where you are. See where you are. And then keep the hand up and bring it right back to center and down. Okay. You saw how far you went? I want you to visualize that you go further. That wherever you got to with that exercise, we're going to do it again. And you're going to go further. Let your mind see you going further. Okay? Hands up. See how far you go. And bring it back. And down. What happened? What was the difference? For a moment, you thought you could go further. Were you not surprised how much further you went?
Yeah.
And that's just a finger.
Yeah, it's the magic finger. There you go. All right, thank you very much. Isn't that great? It's really that simple with everything. We think these challenges in our lives, the things that we want, are so big and so hard to get. It's just that easy. It's just that easy. Whatever's going on, it's just that easy. Joe?
Real quick, so when you start doing it over time, I know it gets a lot, you're more clear sitting in a car, or you feeling things, smelling things, hearing things. At that point, when it gets easier, it's coming faster.
Mm-hmm.
Like
Oh, yeah.
in the quantum field, if you
Sure,
will.
sure.
Is it coming faster?
Because you're not creating the resistance you used to.
So the more you do it, the more I get into that car, the faster I'll have that car.
Yeah. And your idea is you already have it.
Yes.
Yeah. Now here's the thing that and we'll talk more about this, but you can't get into the how when you're doing this work. How has to be irrelevant to this process. That doesn't mean that you don't have to do something about maybe the money to get the car. But the work isn't about the money. You don't bring that into it. You simply let it happen, because if you insist on bringing money into it, then you've limited your outcome to paying for it by some means. Most likely, if you want to play that small model, making payments, because that's what most people do. So the mind goes there. Don't even bring that into your trading work. It doesn't matter. Maybe you'll make payments. Maybe someone will give you money and you'll pay cash. Maybe someone will get you the car. Why leave those possibilities out? No, don't even go to how. How is not part of this process. Yes, Jan?
Could you address the action part? Because my experience is, I understand the treatment, and you're not going to discuss the action in the treatment, but my experience is that you need to take action towards whatever it is you want. For instance, if you wanted out someone a relationship, you would you're treating for that, but you just don't want to stand by and stay in your house all the time. You have to also play a part and do the action.
I teach that in step 5. I think that's
Okay.
part of the release step. And there's several things, and I won't be here for that because Catherine's going to teach that next week. But in the release step, you release everything that is contrary to having it, which means that you're releasing your resistance, you're releasing your fear, you're releasing the how. You're releasing the how, so that you're living in the having. You're living in the having. My favorite story about that was with Will Rockingbear, my Native American teacher. And those of you that I've told this story to, indulge me. He proclaimed that he wanted a certain kind of wood stove in his home at his lodge up near the base of Mount Mitchell. And Barbara and I, thinking we're being clever, decided to go find that stove. And so we started looking, and we found lots of stoves, and none of them were right, none of them were good enough. And it took some time, but after several weeks, we found a stove. Meanwhile, Rockingbear is going, well, I've declared it's mine. Maybe I should do something. So he went down to the paper in Waynesville, the local, whatever, the weekly, I guess it is in Waynesville, and put an ad in, saying that he was looking for this particular kind of stove. Meanwhile, we found the stove, and we're getting it repaired and getting it fixed up and preparing to have it delivered. It was the day that he put that ad in that we had it delivered. Those were not separate actions. He needed to do that. He needed to demonstrate his willingness to act to bring forth that in his life. So you're right, you don't sit home watching TV if you're claiming you have a great job.
Right.
But when you go and apply for jobs, when you get online and fill things out and look at websites and things, you do it knowing you already have your job.
Right.
Right.
But you can't just sit back and take the action towards it as you're treating,
But
knowing
you-
that the
but
right
you-
job,
but if
or
you-
you're in the right job.
If you go looking for the job with fear of not getting the job, then you've
No.
denied the whole thing. You've moved, your prayer then is that this is still hard, this is still difficult, this is still iffy as to whether it'll turn out, if you do any of that. So yes, you must take action, but the work is in mind. It's internal work.
Right, and you don't know, maybe out of the blue, somebody could just call you on the phone and say, I have the right job.
Right,
for you."
exactly.
We don't know how it's gonna come.
Before we had Bliss, we had 2 other dogs. One of them's name was Bear. He was this beautiful white shepherd lab mix. We decided, we were living out in Fairview at the time, we decided on Good Friday we were going to go find our dog. And so we got up in the morning, we did our prayer work, and we claimed our dog, and we spent the whole day looking for dogs. And we looked at labs all over western North Carolina. The last place to look was a place almost to the Georgia state line. And they said the pups were too young, so we couldn't have a pup, but we could come see them. And it's like 6 o'clock on Friday night, Good Friday. And I said, Barbara, I don't want to go. She said, but we treated. I said, I know, but I don't want to go out there. So we stayed home, and the phone rang. And it was a guy I had seen maybe 6, 7 years earlier, who was a college student, and he came up, and he and his buddies crashed in my room in DC when we were at a conference. They came up in their van, they had no place to stay, so stay in my room. So we did. And it was that guy. And he called to say, my dog had puppies. And I think one of them's yours. Can I bring it up next weekend from West Palm Beach, Florida? Okay. And Bear was beautiful. And they named him, before we got him, Faithful. And that dog was so faithful to Barbara, it was amazing. And he was perfect, and we had treated him in. But it didn't happen the way we imagined it would happen. But it happened, because you can't know how. You know, and us getting up and doing everything we did was part of the process, but it was not the how. It was something else. But the internal work that we did created that connection for us to have Bear for a wonderful 13 years.
So how did he know that that dog was meant for you?
He was an intuitive, and that was his line to us. I don't know. But I hadn't heard from him in 6 years, so somehow he just got that. And you know, there's one line. I'll be right there, Gene.
With all this, like what you were saying, I see it as an object in motion tends to stay in motion, or that you have to put momentum into it. Something, even tiny, that moves that everything forward.
Right. You do. But listen to this too. I'm right to you, Jane. That's not the essence of it. It's important.
Right.
It's but who would treat knowing that they have something in their lives and then not take positive action toward that? Even if that isn't the way you go, what's going to create it? You do something. So that's that release step where you kind of get out of the way and let it happen. But you participate in the happening, whatever it is. Jane, what do you want to say?
I had when I was little, 13, I was a really good tennis player. And so one time, I don't know how it happened, I wasn't feeling that good, but I walked onto the court. And I don't know where it came from. It was not conscious on my part. But suddenly I knew that I wasn't going to miss any shots. And I still remember that. I'm an old person now. But I still remember how I was just positive, you know, at the time. And it was like, it was a knowing, and I don't know where it came from. It wasn't, I hadn't thought consciously, I'm going to get, you know.
But you knew that you could do it.
Well, no, I'm not sure. I wasn't aware of knowing that. I just, all of a sudden, this huge knowing just descended.
That's what I'm saying. You say it descended on you. I think it came from within you. I don't think it came from the outside. I think it was inside you, and you realized it. You realized that you were that good. It became clear to you, it wasn't that you were struggling to find that. It just, you did the work, and it opened up to you that you were that good. And you were that good.
And on that, and I never played as well.
There's a story about tennis in my new book that's coming out. You'll enjoy that. I won't tell it now. I'll let you guys.
Did you finish the book?
I'm working on, I've finished everything, but I realized I want to have a chapter in it that goes through some examples of how to use what I'm teaching. You know, sort of like if you did a book on treatment, it could have made sense in that book to do some treatments. You know, in fact, if you look at the Science of Mind text, the back half is treatments. I'm not going to try to do that in any, but I think for what I'm teaching people, I need to give them some examples of how it would work. So I'm going to do a chapter on that, and then it's done.
You'll include tennis then.
And the tennis is a story in the beginning of the book. Yeah, you'll like it. Anybody else? You guys good? Okay, so let's talk about the structure of the third step. This is the boring part, but there's really some nuances here you want to know. There are 4 elements of the third step. 4 things that make this work. Now remember, we're doing treatment for ourselves in this class. I'm not trying to teach you how to treat other people. I'm teaching you how to treat yourself. Once you've mastered that or gotten a real sense of it, moving into treating other people is fine, but right now, this class is about treating yourself. So, there are, as I say, 4 things. These are the 4 elements. And they all have to start with the letter P. The first one is personal. What does that mean, personal? It means you're treating yourself. So, if you're treating something that has to do with other people, don't try to treat them. Don't try to bring them into your third step. That gets convoluted. So let's say that you have a boss that you're struggling with. They're not being reasonable, you don't feel good about it, you really don't even like going into work and having to face them because they're always in a bad mood. Anything like that. So what do you treat that has to do with personal? You treat about you. What is your experience of going into work?
I enjoy work, my boss is great.
No, you don't even mention your boss. You talk about, I go to work and enjoy myself, I feel valued, I feel supported, I am appreciated, I am in this wonderful space that is delightful. I'm safe. See, it's all about me. Everything in your treatment for yourself is about you. If you start trying to lay on what your boss does, you're changing the whole dynamic of this. So what would happen if you you had this circumstance in your life, it wasn't really working with this boss, supervisor, let's say, and you were doing this deep work, knowing the truth that everything that happened to you at work was light and enjoyable, and you were productive, and those were the elements that you were holding. Either your boss will have a sudden epiphany that you're the best employee they've ever had, or they will get a transfer, or they will quit, or other things that we don't even want to mention that could happen to them, that they wouldn't be there anymore, but something will shift.
You might get a promotion too.
Sure, any possibility. You might get a transfer. You might get a job offer at another company. Any of that works. It doesn't matter. Don't go there about how it works. Just see it working. And it is all personal because it's only about you. That's the work. It's only about you.
When you think about naming yourself, I often would say, I speak this word for myself, Jan Elizabeth Getz. And
Yeah, absolutely.
I clarify that, and I feel very clear on that.
Absolutely. I'm comfortable just saying I, because I'm talking about me. Some people find that helpful to almost objectify it.
Yeah.
You know, but I know who I am. And,
Yeah,
you know.
I just feel really like I speak this word. Right
Yeah,
now,
that's
right
great.
now.
Then that's wonderful. No,
Yeah.
there's nothing wrong with that. That's personal preference. That's fine. But you want to make sure that everything you're saying in that third step is about you. And if it's about this relationship with another person, the qualities you're looking for, and we'll get into qualities in a minute, are all about you. No one else matters in this formula. Do not go into them, because what happens then, now there's conflict, because what you're saying, what you're trying to push on this person is maybe not where they are right now. So it's not your job to do that. You're actually creating conflict by doing that, because they may not be up to that. That may not be their thing. And the answer may not be about them changing their way of being. It could be something entirely different than that. So don't get into that other person at all. Don't speak their name. Don't speak their position. Don't even see them in your treatment. It's all about you. Yes?
So, can you say I work harmoniously with all people?
Sure, because that's about you.
Okay.
Sure. You just don't want to get into seeing and focusing on anyone else but you. The power is in you're creating your life. And you start trying to include other people, and it just shifts the energy away from you. It's all about you. And that's a good thing, because you do create your experience. It is not your job to create your boss's experience or your boss's expression. That's their business. But what happens, and I've seen this happen a bunch of times, is that suddenly the relationship shifts and things are good. But it comes out of the clarity of knowing something about me that happens, not about knowing something about me. It's really important to stay with that personal concept. Is this working? Okay, so you want to stay with it only and absolutely from your perspective, your experience. The rest of it is irrelevant. You create that. And then how that aligns and how those pieces fall into place, that's not your business. That's the how. We don't do how. Okay. Here's a tricky one. Present. We do this in the now. We do not treat that something is going to happen. Never, never, never treat any time but right now. There is nothing but now, right? We hear that, yet our mind wants to think about what's going to happen. And that, when we speak to one another, that's inevitable. You can't really be in communication without talking about the past or the future at times. It's just what we do. That's how we communicate. But this is not communication with another person. And that's something you'll learn. Even when you get to the place where you're treating for somebody else, you are not talking to them. They may be witnessing your treatment. The words are coming out of your mouth, but you are not talking to them. So when you're doing this for yourself, you are with yourself, and you are talking to yourself, you are treating yourself, but you are doing it now. So you, in your visualization, in your auditory awareness, in your kinesthetic experience, are doing all of that now. You're not doing, you can't do it in the future. When's the last time you did anything in the future? So what you're doing it with is now. Now, what's happening in your subjective mind is that that's accepting that that's the way it is. You're impressing the mind of God, so that has to reveal itself. But that time element is not your business. Don't even go there when you're doing your treatment work. You only are in the now moment.
Well,
what's happening is happening now.
When you do it in the future, it never gets there.
That's true. If you treat for something to happen, then the operative part of that is that it's coming. You don't want it to come. You want it to be. You want it to be right now.
To me, I think that if you try to manifest it in the future, that's where it stays. It always stays there.
Absolutely. If you see it in the future, close your eyes and see the future. No. That's not this work. This work is only done in the present moment. I have this. I am this. I see this. I experience this. I feel it. Those are the concepts you want to experience in your work. It's essential that you do that. If you create any kind of a time frame around this, if you say in your treatment, I know that by the end of the month, oh no, don't do that. The end of the month, when is that? Which month? They keep having months, you know? And even, oh well, I'll fix it, I'll say by the end of June. No, don't say that. That you've detached yourself from it in a way that you're not influencing it anymore. It's out there somewhere. No, now, right now. Yes?
Okay, just, May always said, like, put a definite date, like, I want $15,000 by October.
Yeah, that's goal setting.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with goal setting. That's an effective tool, but that's not treatment.
Okay.
You're working on impressing the mind of God, impressing upon that you're initiating something, and you can only do that by having it now. Okay? This is different than goal setting. And I have no problem with that process. This is different, though. This is specific to that. So we're personal. It's all about me, and it's only happening now, right now. That experience is mine now. You do that, and then you go to the next one. Positive. Positive does not mean pleasant. I'm being up, so I want my treatment to be pleasant or positive. No, that's not what it's saying. Here's what it is. You cannot treat not to have something. You cannot treat for something to go away, because the object of what you're focused on is the thing you don't want.
It's a whole lot of negatives.
Yeah, so when you, as Rocking Bear would say, trying to get away from something, trying to say, I don't want this, is like tying a rope around a tree and yanking on the rope, pulling on as hard as you can and screaming at the tree to let go. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. Now, there are people in the world, I know it's none of you, but there are people that tend naturally to want to move away from something. And when I do counseling with them and I say, what do you want? All they can say is, I want it to go away. I want it to stop. That doesn't work. I mean, you know what? I don't want to say it doesn't work. I've seen people do it. But it's arduous and painful and slow and methodical. And that's not what we're looking for. We're not struggling our way through life. We are going to let the power and grace of the universe apply this and have this shift in our perception and our experience happen quickly and easily. We're not interested in long and arduous, right? So we're not moving away from anything. This is the talk, if any of you have seen, remember my talk with the balloons about turn away from the condition. You must focus on what you're calling into your life. You must claim it absolutely. So I love the idea of a magnet, a bar magnet. You know, one end is positive, one end is negative. It's not that one end is bad and one end is good. It's simply about the flow. That the energy, the molecular flow of electrons in a magnet move from positive through to negative. So you have that natural flow, which is great, and that's what makes it work. So we do this from a positive. We focus on the thing that we are claiming in our lives. We're focused on the thing that is the object of our attention, our focus to create in our lives. That's the only way to get it. If you're focusing on what you don't, and sometimes that's hard, because what if it's a pain? What if you have a physical bodily pain and you really want it to go away? The work is to feel the flexibility and ease of your body in that way. And let go of the pain. Don't think about the pain. And what you're doing when you do that is you're actually starving the thing you don't want, because you're not paying attention to it. If you don't pay attention to something, it tends to go away. It tends to cease to exist. So don't, oh, well, what do I do when I have bills to pay and they're calling? Well, I'm not telling you to be unrealistic about your life, but your work, in your treatment work, is to see yourself with all debts paid and cleared. To see yourself with a checkbook with money in it. To see, don't worry about that stuff. Know that your balance sheet in your life has a positive number to it. That's what your focus is. What would your life be like if you had no debt? That's what you focus on. That's what it looks like. And it's so tempting to focus on, make it go away, make it go away. If I could just pay these bills. Why can't I pay these bills? Why can't I have some peace with my finances? And the why is getting you. Completely getting you there. And keeping you in that struggle. So don't do that. Doesn't mean you don't sit down and pay your bills. You do. But you do it knowing that you have plenty of money to pay your bills. And that makes a difference. You come to it with an entirely different energy. And what comes out of it is a result that works for you. It's been amazing watching, when Barbara and I watch our total financial wealth, our finances shift so beautifully since we've been doing, not that it was difficult before, but it's so much better since we started doing this treatment for freedom on Sundays, and we do it every day. And just knowing that and living in that clarity of having enough, more than enough, that everything's taken care of, all things are working, it just has really shifted in a lovely way for us. So that, you know, our investments are strong, our plans for our retirement are working, everything is moving along great. You know, that's the way it should be. So that's what we do. Whatever it is, we focus on having the thing in our lives that we are claiming we have. Doing it personally, it's not me, doing it in the present moment, now, and doing it in a positive way that I'm focusing on the thing that I desire and that I'm calling into my life. That's my work. That's 3. We've got one more before we take a break. And this is important too. Precise. Precise what? Let's go back to an example of a car. One of our members here came to me one time and asked me to treat for him to have a car that some particular person was selling. He didn't have the money for it, but he wanted that guy's car. And I told him I wouldn't treat that. Why not? Because I don't know that car. I don't know. Is it a good car? Well, it looks good to me. Seems to run great. Yeah, but is that really what you want? Do you want that car, or do you want me to know that you have the car that really works for you, that is in good repair, that gets the right kind of gas mileage, that you know, whatever qualities, those are the precise things, the qualities of the car. And he said, okay, but I really want that car. Well, if that's your car, you'll have it. And so we treated, and because he didn't have the money, it didn't work out. He did not get that car. He was going through some financial struggles, and it just didn't work out, and he didn't get that car. But a few days later, he was driving down Patton Avenue, and he looked into a car lot, and there was the same kind of car. So he went in, and the place gave him terms so that he could get the car. And he got the car. And the car was great. And the car did all the things we said it would do. We were precise about the qualities of the car. We were not specific about which car. Another example, someone, this happened down in Florida, a guy, really wanted to be in a relationship with a woman at our center down there. He was just awestruck by this woman, starstruck. He wanted a relationship with this woman. And I said to him, be careful. You're being specific. You're not being precise. I said, what I encouraged him to do was think about what he would imagine having in that relationship. Would he be appreciated? Would he be trusted? Would he be you know, whatever, would he be loved unconditionally, whatever the qualities that he wanted in a relationship, focus on that. No, I want her. And he treated to be in a relationship with her. And he did get into a relationship with her. And he was miserable. It was nothing like he imagined. So, you may think you want that job at that company. Don't do that. Don't treat that. Think about what you would imagine working there would be like. What do you want to experience in a job? And treat that. Be precise about that, those qualities. Be exact about the range of salary, about the office space, about the responsibilities and opportunities for advancement. Whatever is your thing, treat that precisely. But don't treat that job, because that job may or may not be the one that will give you these qualities. Yes, remind me your name.
Lisa.
Lisa. Thank you, Lisa.
Would it be okay to use a phrase like the perfect job for me if you're not sure what the qualities are?
I struggle with that, and let me tell you why. It's a good question, because perfect in our culture seems to have all these things that attach to it that are wonderful. First of all, my understanding of perfection is that life unfolds in perfect alignment with our consciousness. So if we want our consciousness to create the best outcome, we must know what it is we want. We must know what it is we are calling into our lives, because sometimes we go a little unconscious, and our subjective takes over, and we've had a job like that before, and it didn't work out, and that's all working in the background. You're not even hearing it. You're not even getting it. Your subjective mind has memories of things that didn't work out. So to say perfect to me leaves the door open for it not to work. What Edwin Gaines says is, you never go into a restaurant and say, bring me a perfect meal. Because it may be perfect to the person that's serving it to you, and you need to go, I really don't like this kind of food. So you don't want to leave it to anything other than your clear understanding of what it is you are calling into your life. Now, do you always get everything on the list? Sometimes you do, and it's dazzling when it shows up and you just go, yes, 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 yes. But there are some times where, well, it's got these 8 things, but it doesn't have these 2 things. I'll take it, because those were toward the bottom of the list anyway, and that works for me. But if you don't make the list, if you go, you know, this or something better, it leaves it so open, and it really, your consciousness will still get what you get based on your consciousness. But you're not calling your consciousness into a higher realm at that moment. You want to take total responsibility for what happens. In your conscious mind, say, this is what I claim. This is what I bring into my life. So I would encourage you to do some diligence around that. And we all not just Lisa, everybody, so that you're really taking responsibility for the outcome that you're creating. I'm going to take Joey, and then I'll come back to her.
To be honest, I got so wrapped up in that.
That's all right, Laura.
What I found for me, if I didn't know the qualities, it made me hesitate to do the treatment until I realized I know 3 qualities.
There you go.
Start with those.
That's a great idea.
Then the rest come to me and my treatments expand as I got more clear. But if I hadn't started with at least the 3, then I would still be.
Don't hurry the thing. You know, the treatment work is so important. It's like sometimes we think, oh, this thing, treat now, treat now. Well, sometimes there's an urgency to treatment. Sometimes it can be life or death. You know, so there are times when it's important and urgent, but it's more important to focus on its importance and to do it in a way that you're comfortable with. So that's a really good point. That's a really good point. Drew?
I always go with, you know, highest, you know, that whole perfect thing. Perfect for me. You know, and just leave it there, leave it general, because it will fill in.
Okay, but if you leave it there for you at what level of consciousness in your life, what's still roaming around in your subjective mind from things that didn't work out before? What's wrong with making your list? And being precise is always about quality. It's not about the specific thing. You don't, and that's the danger point that I want to make. But working up a list, and like Laura said, maybe just 3 things.
Right.
But if you can get 10, do 10. What does it matter? You know, and whatever it is that you're calling forth. Sometimes I think what some people, I've done this, where I get in it and I go, well, maybe I do want it that way, or maybe I don't.
Yeah.
You know, so you're grappling with it. Well, make a choice. But don't decide. Don't decide what you want. Choose what you want. And let that be so. You're going to turn this off for me because I'm ready to wrap this thing up. And choice is a better place to go because you can always change your mind.
Right.
If you decide, the word decide actually means killing the second option. Die means to, side is like insecticide. So what it does is it means you're only down to one option. Don't do that. Stay with your choices, because if you choose something, you go, that's not it. You choose something else. You know? All right. Let's go ahead and break and take a break, and then we'll come back and pick this up again. Thank you.
It seems like so.
So we've just a quick review. We've got these 4 elements of the 3rd step. They are that I speak personally. I focus on me in this. I bring no other human being into my treatment. It's about me, it's about my experience. I'm present with it. Everything that I say is in the now moment. I never speak of the past or the future. It's all now. I speak in positive terms, meaning I focus on the object that I am creating into form, that I am impressing the law with an understanding, with a representation of the state of being or the object that I am claiming in my life, and that I'm precise with the details of that outcome, that I focus on every detail that I can in terms of quality, the quality of what I see, but not the specific of it, the quality of it, not the specific thing. And I think maybe there's a little that I want to, as I'm saying that I want to do a caveat. If you're working on a physical situation, you obviously, being positive, are not focused on an ailment or any kind of malady. You're focused on vibrant health. You're focused, and you describe in that precision the elements or the aspects or the qualities of that vibrant health. For example, someone who would injure a knee, you know, they got ice pack on it, it's time to treat. You treat that knee is functioning perfectly. I love the line, it functions exactly as it was designed to function, which gives it permission to heal, and heal quickly. And we have seen consistently when we work on physical conditions that we break all the records on how quickly things heal, and doctors go, how did you do that? Well, we treated it, you know, and they take casts off weeks before they were supposed to, you know, because we were clear, and we give the body permission to be whole, to be in its healthy form. So it's vibrantly healthy, meaning, and you know, in that visual state, you say, so I move my knee with ease. I stand and stand firmly on that leg because this knee supports me. You come up with scenarios on how that's so. And it is your knee, so you are being precise about which knee we're talking about. But it's the qualities of the knee that you're focused on that make the difference. And people say, well, why shouldn't I just treat for vibrant health? Well, of course, there's nothing wrong. Always treat to be vibrantly healthy. But the specifics help. What is it you want that knee to do? Say it, see it, feel it, know it. That supports. This is one thing I learned, God, 30 years ago from Bruce Lipton. That your body is listening to you. That if you have a thought, every cell in your body has that thought. So that if you're going, oh, my knee hurts so much, oh, I'm afraid to put weight on. If you're having those thoughts, your knee's getting it. It knows it. And if you're saying, my knee's strong, my knee is so vibrantly healthy, it's so flexible, it's so, holds me up. If I see these things and know these things, my knee knows it too. Every cell in that knee knows that. So why not? Why not give it all that information? So that's the precise part of it. So those are the 4 elements that you do in your third step. When you veer from that, you're weakening your work. So it's really helpful, and that's something you just have to learn to do. So the next thing that I want to look at in this is, what are you treating for? And in the third step, what is the focus of your attention? What is the object of your focus? However you want to say it. How does that work? Well, I call them the 4 pillars of life. Maybe you may have heard this from me some other place. But there's only 4 things you're treating for. 4 areas, 4 categories. And everything falls into them. And they are health, wealth, meaning anything that has to do with finances, relationships, and self-expression. They're all pretty explanatory. Health, you can say bodily health. You could say mental health. You could say financial health. But then you've got wealth. So, you know, wealth stands alone. It has to do with how you flow in your life. Then you've got relationships, and boy, do you have relationships. Everybody's got relationships. You got relationships with your family of origin. You got relationships with everybody at the place where you work, if you work in a place. But still, you have, even if you work at home, you're reaching out to clients. You're doing something where you're interacting with people. It's impossible not to. You go in a store. Now, they do have the self-service checkouts in the stores now. But even at that, there's somebody there, and if something doesn't work, you've got to turn around and talk to that person. Relationships are everywhere. You're having relationships with the people in the cars near you when you're driving. Because occasionally one of them will toot at you because you didn't do what they wanted you to do. You were looking down at your phone when the light changed, something. You're having all these relationships in your life. And you have a relationship with yourself, your self-image. So you have all these relationships. That's what this relationship is about. Self-expression is about what are you putting out into the world. Some people say, well, that's your job. Well, it is, but it's not limited to your job. It's whatever you're doing that you're bringing yourself to life. It can be an avocation. It could be a hobby. It could be a project. Drew's taken on some projects around here. He's self-expressing around this place like crazy. You know, and many of the rest of you are doing that as well. You know, you have this thing that with this you have a relationship with the center, but you bring your self-expression into the center. Those are the four things. Can anyone name something that would not fall in one of those categories that has anything to do with your life? That's the correct answer. Now, why is this important? Well,
And can I ask?
oh, sure,
something
sure.
real quick? Where would, just as a general, the environment fall into the category?
Oh, you could say you have a relationship with the environment. You could say that that relationship with the environment has an impact on your health or on your wealth. You know, so it's really kind of everywhere. And if the environment's that important to you, I bet you're expressing into life some way to support a healthy environment. It's everywhere.
Okay.
Yeah. So why do we point to these four? Well, it's really helpful in this class because I want you to think about those four areas of your life and see what it is that needs some attention. I'm having interesting conversations. I'm taking a class on this thing called the One Thing. And they're insisting that a balanced life is an illusion. Your life isn't balanced. And probably I get what they're saying. I still like the idea of not leaving an area of my life untended to. So these are the four areas of my life. And if I'm going to treat myself into the fullest expression of who I am, I want to make sure that I'm focused on those four areas. You know, it's really easy if you're successful in business to put a lot of energy in your self-expression unless your relationships suffer, you know. Or if you're very focused on your relationships and not focused on your health, you might let something go there. So it's good to look at these four things, and we will use them in the rest of the classes as you're working with Kate. There will be a real idea of having people share their where they're focused on improving the circumstances in their life based on these four. Yes, Penny?
So if you're going to do a treatment for yourself, would you include all four areas of your life, or are you treating for a specific
I like to assess the four areas and see what needs attention. You know, maybe something's just running beautifully, and I want to put my energy into this thing where I could have a clearer vision of what I would like to see coming forth in my life.
So would you say treating for something like clarity might fall under self-expression?
Yeah. Yeah, but clarity can really be anywhere as well. You know, clarity about your relationships, about your health, about your money. God knows, most people will use some clarity about their wealth. You know, so clarity, I think, is one of those things that really goes anywhere in there. Yeah. Okay, so let's do this for just a moment. If you've got some paper, write those four things down and think about which one really could use the most attention from you right now. Don't make it wrong. We're not really looking for problems. We're looking for bringing things up in our lives, into our awareness, and into the active work that we do in treatment. So of these three, which one could use the most attention right now? I think everybody did that so quick as you already know. So here's a question. You wrote something in here. How many of you, remembering what you wrote here, matches what you just said as I asked you the question? Would you raise your hand? Okay, we have some people who have changed it, who looked at one thing here, but now the focus is something else. That's great. That's not wrong. That's not bad. That's great. That means you're becoming more aware of the balance in your life and where you can put your focus and what's important to you today. Things change from day to day. I never expect you to be single-dimensional in your lives. It's okay to change. It's okay to have your focus shift. So, but what I'm suggesting here is that when you get into your third step and you're doing this work, it's important to kind of take an assessment of your life rather than be putting out fires all the time. You know, many of us do that. Maybe that's a lifestyle for some people. Okay, what's next that I got to fix? That's a hard way to live. Wouldn't it be nice to be a little preemptive before something gets out of hand? Yay. And what I want you to know is treatment, whatever you focus on in treatment, you're creating in your life. And the more clear you are about what it is that you know about your life, about what you are realizing is the highest truth of your life, the quicker you'll get it. And then you can move on to whatever's next. And whatever's next is a good thing. It's a good thing. This isn't about fixing anything. This is about recognizing how powerful we are and how we can live our lives in the light of Spirit and have whatever we focus on right now. So it's important to know those three. You've got the four steps or the four ideas, concepts for keeping the thing as clear and laser sharp as possible. So I just want to spend a little time, because it came up, to go back to our model here. Holmes came up with this a long time ago, and it still works. And we have to remember this is not a physical model. It's not like spirit is one place, the mind is somewhere else, and the physical form is yet another place. That's not it. These are concepts. The only thing that has any physicality is this. But what we have to remember to do, especially when we're doing our treatment, is that we observe and experience everything from here. This is where we are. Our bodies are down here. Our affairs are down here. Our activities, our lives are here. But we are here. And recognizing that is essential to making this work. You must remember, and this is step one and step two. I mean, all is God. God is greater than all physical form. That's the truth. And the place where I am knowing that in the non-physical nature of the divine is here. There's nothing physical about this. It's conceptual. And as I have a thought, I initiate the law. I initiate this subjective mind to create an outcome here. So if I follow these guidelines of personal, present, positive, and precise in my third step, I am here, and I'm creating something here. So that's what this line is about. It goes from here to here. So then what happens? Well, I observe it here. That's a good thing, because it's the thing that I knew was so, and I observe it here. So then what happens is, in that observation, it's here. It's my awareness of what's here, and it's that dynamic flow. So, how does this work elsewhere? This works whether you know about treatment or not. It's nothing. This has really nothing directly to do with treatment. Treatment has to do with it, but this model, what it's saying to us is only focus on things that you want down here, things that are working in your life, things that you're claiming into your life. The rest of the stuff, don't give it anything. If you do, like I think I talked about this the first night. If we, as a young person, observe something that we don't like, We don't want somebody, our parents fight over money. That happened here. That conversation that we heard, we observed, it was here, right? But we think that's real. We think that's the way relationships work. We think that's the challenge with being with somebody. So what do? We bring it up here again. And then we do it again. And then we get into a relationship and we have our first fight over money. Well, there it is. See, I told you so. Now we've reinforced it. And so what happens from that? Well, that relationship falls apart over money, and you go find somebody who's got a lot of money, right? Because that'll solve the problem if I just find somebody who has a lot of money. So we get in a relationship with somebody who has a lot of money, and they're obsessed about money. They like their money better than they like me. Whole new problem, but the same problem. Because we believe that being in a relationship means we struggle with money. So changing the stuff here does not change our belief, and our belief drives it. And we think that we can change the details down here and get a different result. We can't. We can only change it here by seeing it being a different way. Yes, Joy.
That's awesome for one. And when you said the here, like you're here, you ever go to the mall and you see those big maps and say you are here?
Yeah, you're here.
I'm just so thankful that it's not that big with that many colors on it. You know, it's just it's not complex. You're here. Okay.
And an arrow.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah. There you go.
You are here. When you think you're here, everything gets weird.
Yeah.
Suddenly we're not in control. And when we think we're here, because we're observing facts, we're observing situations, and we think that's real. And by thinking it's real, we're reinforcing it and making it real. Again and again and again and again. And then somehow we think life is a mess because we see so much mess. But we're creating a mess by believing it's real.
Yeah, to me, this pictorial analogy, you know, to me it's a wave, it's a everything, and I'm just looking at it going, oh, that is a tiny little eyepiece snapshot, and those lines to me are enormous circles.
Absolutely.
Above and below and everything else, and it's massive. We're just looking at a little tiny spot that interplays these massiveness of, because that's how powerful it is in the differentials.
What we do here is we plant seeds. What we do here is we have soil. That's the stuff that the seed germinates in. What we have here is an outcome. It can be called a plant.
The harvest.
So that's the nature model, but it's metaphysically the same model, that we initiate the creative process here. This area here that we call law cannot initiate anything. It is simply there ready for us to put something into it. So we do. We put something into it. And that's at cause. We are cause of our life. Even my first teacher, who never heard of science of mind, said, we are always at cause point. Cause point, always. Everything we do with our thinking creates an outcome. We are cause. The law is the law. That's the mind of God that takes it. We don't know how it works. I wish I could tell you how it works. I don't know. But it does. I observe it all the time. And what we end up in with here is a thing. The stuff of life. Don't let the stuff of life run your life. You run your life. Yes.
Fact, you mentioned earlier facts.
Facts, yeah, they go down here.
Facts contain.
They can.
So to go back to the cause and seed, is that the truth? You have to go back to the truth?
Absolutely.
So when you're talking about that young person who saw the relationship problem with money, and so how would he...
Truth and facts don't fight each other. They're really completely separate concepts. Yet one goes here and one goes there. The facts are that my parents fought over money. The facts are that I have seen people fight over money. In every relationship I have ever been in, we fight over money. Those are facts.
Right.
It's not that it didn't happen, it did happen. But if we rely on that to structure our belief system, we can only get that. It's finite.
Right.
That's another thing down here. This is finite.
So what's the truth to change?
The truth is that I am the power in my life. What I think, I create into my life. See, they're not the same thing.
Right, okay.
But if you apply that idea of truth, that I create my life, it takes these facts and makes them unimportant.
Okay.
So does that also flip and make the top part infinite?
Absolutely. Let's put that up there.
Getting good.
It is infinite. Everything about who we are is infinite. We live one life at a time, it appears. I mean, that could just be an illusion. I mean, maybe you've heard the story of the idea that we all live every life one at a time. There's only one of us. So we're all part of the same thing. I mean, that's one way to see the oneness of life, is that there's only one being, and all of us are living it. Just, it seems that we're living it simultaneously, but maybe not. Who knows? Who knows how that works? Anyway, the idea is that we are infinite beings. We have a body, which gives us this idea of finite, because we have a time when we're born, and we have a time when we make our transition out of that body. So that's finite. That has a time element. But we have no time element. So we live infinitely. Infinitely. How do you even conceive of what that means? It's a lovely word, and it takes you out there a little bit, but what does it mean? I don't know. Because all I'm working on right now is now. Because that's the only place I can be effective.
I was reading a book last night about NLP, neuro-linguistic programming, and our brains only pick up, like we can only sense, the brain we're only aware of like 170 something odd different things in our surroundings a second. But there's millions of things coming at us every second.
Right.
And what you just said about the whole, we're one person, maybe, you're doing things all the time. You don't notice your peripherals until someone says it. You don't notice where your fingertips are until someone says it.
Right.
That could be that one, it just clicked in my head like that. I was like, huh. And you could put that into consciousness and kind of see how.
Absolutely. You know
It's
what
like a
autism.
hologram.
You know what autism is.
Yeah.
It's that part that there's a filter in the body that will let you only have 100 and some odd sensory experiences at any particular moment. People who have autism don't have that filter. So it's all happening, and they're getting it all, and they're going, oh no, oh no, too much. That's what autism is. Yeah, isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they have to learn how to cope with having too much information all the time.
Huh.
Yeah, how about that?
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Is this making sense? So how do we use this? What does this mean? It means that we do steps 1 and 2 here. Consciously here. Actually, step 1 is everything. Step 1 is the wholeness of the divine. But I must identify myself here in the invisible, absolute, infinite presence of the divine. So what I'm doing in essence is doing what Joyce said. You are here. Be here. Be here in step 2. That's the only place to be, is here. Okay? So at that moment, I've detached myself from this. It's not guiding me. I'm not getting anything causational here. Cause is with me. This is effect. But this is what I can influence. This is what I can create.
So is that step 3?
Step 3 is 2 is to recognize I'm here. Step 3 is to say, okay, what do you want here? What is it that we want to have in our lives? What conditions, circumstances do we want to experience? And we say, this is it. Oh, okay. So we get to, even though what we're working on is a seed, it's like, the idea that the seed has the plant in it? The seed has the plant in it. So what we see is the plant. And create the seed, which is the thing that influences the law, the soil. We give that idea, that image, that perception to the law, and we're done. And the only thing that slows it down is our getting in the way. So the idea is to stop getting in the way. So Jan brought me an interesting thought during the break. To get a sense of this, one great way to do it is to spend some time with a practitioner. They've been working on that for themselves and others for a while, most of them. Schedule a time to sit down with a practitioner. We have a pretty unique thing here. A lot of practitioners charge a fee. Now, all of our practitioners have learned that it is inappropriate to say no if someone wants to gift us something for the time that we spend. We can't say no. But we're not looking for a financial gain as practitioners at this center. So if you go to one of the practitioners on Sunday and say, I would love to have a session with you, chances are they will schedule something with you. Do that. Watch how they organize their thoughts in the treatment that they do for you. 90% of it you're going to love. And then you're going to have some questions. Bring those questions here. And let a practitioner talk to you about them. And really bring this thing into a functional, useful tool in your life. And now that you've got all the first three steps, it's time to start doing treatments. You'll get Thanksgiving and release, and they're important. But you can do treatments right now. And it wouldn't be bad for a week to do your treatments with the first three steps and stop. Like Holmes did. That's what he did. And do it again and again, knowing that you're deepening your conscious awareness of that realization every time you do it. Spend this week doing that. See what happens. You guys are amazing. I really feel you're totally with me on this. And I really appreciate that. Good students are hard to find.
Not here.
That's a joke. I don't believe good students are hard to find. So it's getting toward 10 minutes to the top of the hour. So what I'm going to do is we'll pass our baskets here in a minute and hopefully have a little time for you to go over before it gets too late to spend time with Chuck and walk this dazzling labyrinth. I've never seen such a thing. So take out what you're going to give. These are lovely baskets. And I invite you to take out what you're going to give in a way that has meaning for you. I know that many of you are very generous with this center. I can't tell you how grateful I am. And I know for most of you that coming to this class is something just a little extra in what you're doing, even though I think it has a profound value for you. Learning about treatment, what I know is that coming on Sunday and coming to other events here often is a little more dazzling in the experience. But right here, we're talking about treatment, and we've created a clear understanding of this tonight in a new way for all of us. And I'm just grateful for everyone that has joined in this knowing. And I know as we pass these baskets now, that there is a generosity in this room that touches not only those of us here, but anyone that calls this their spiritual home, and anyone that reaches out to find some value in their life on their spiritual path. So I'm deeply grateful for each one that is here, for all of the good that comes through these conversations, and for the way we are taking such a mastery of our lives and doing this in such a good way. So I invite us all to hold that knowing in this moment as we pass these baskets, and that we do this in a quiet way, in a gentle way, and allow them to come forward and be blessed. So it is. Well done, everybody. So, how wonderful is this, that people love this center enough to share their resources, to come here and to share in this conversation about how life works, to take the blessing of that understanding and to leave behind these gifts. what a joyous thing that is. And I am so grateful that we've had this time to do this. And I hold these envelopes, I hold them in my heart, knowing that the things that are written in here at the moment of writing were deeply important to each one. And I know that the clarity of spirit comes through these envelopes into the presence of the divine as our lives and is awakened. And these things that are written on these pieces of paper, sealed in these envelopes, are blessings. They are blessings that already exist in each one's life and in the life of the divine. So I claim them as so. I know that whatever they need to be, they are in that perfect order. They are no longer static words on pieces of paper. They are alive, and they are manifest for each one. And I know the stories that are revealed when we open these envelopes are amazing and dazzling and awaken us all to how powerful we are. We are so powerful. And God is so good. And God is right here because God is all there is. That's the truth. And in gratitude, deep and abiding gratitude and lots of love, I simply let it be. And together we say,
And so it is.
So it is. Yay! Thank you so much. What a wonderful night. Go walk the labyrinth.
Yes.
We'll